conversation right now. Having gone through a lot of this yourself last year, do you see parallels? Have you reached out to Brandon? What's your read on the situation?
It's brutal, especially when you're here and you have that extra pressure on you. I've talked to him a few times just as a friend, and but when it comes to what's actually going on behind closed doors, I have no knowledge or input, so it'll get worked out.
I'll just confirm that have allowed Brandon to talk to other teams that are pretty close to possibly him being traded. What kind of loss would that be if he's not on this team?
I think it'd be huge. I trust John and Kyle, but he's a very tough player to replace. So, yeah.
Did you ever have any doubts last summer, Nick, whether you might get traded or if things were not going to get done?
Yeah. I mean, as it got closer and closer, it gets pretty dicey. But I definitely didn't want to be traded. It's a good place to be, for sure. I'm very, very thankful and grateful to be paid and here, because I don't think there's many other organizations that are as good as this one. So, but yeah, there's a few moments.
Commanders are known as fair, I think, but tough negotiators when it comes to this stuff. Do you feel like you made them blank and you won last year?
I'm not going to comment too much on it, but they are tough. That's for sure.
You mentioned before just how valuable the reps against Trent are in this camp. Obviously, he's not there. You weren't there last year, but what do you lose by not having that?
I definitely lose a good battle. I sleep better at night. But Jalen is very talented and getting a lot better day and day. Like every single day, I see him getting better. So for Jalen, it's great, and I'm sure Trent will be back. But and I'll get plenty of reps against him. But Jalen's tough, so it's a battle with him too. And I think for him, he's working his way into a position of being a starting caliber tackle for sure.
You talked a lot in the past about the conversations you have with Trent, kind of sharing tips and things like that. Do you have similar conversations with Jalen?
A little bit, not as much, I'd say. But we're going at it every day. We have a good working relationship for sure. He's a great dude, and him and McKivitz, both very solid players and fun to work against.
Hey Nick, how has Yetur Gross-Matos fit into the rotation with you guys up front?
He's doing great. We've been on him every single day, me and Chris and the rest of the guys, and he's starting to really buy into the scheme and play it the way it's supposed to, and he's got a ton of talent, so I think this scheme will bring the best out of him for sure.
Talking to Chris Kasurik yesterday about Leonard Floyd, and when he's out there like in shorts and with his shirt cut off, and you see how thin he looks almost like a basketball player. And how does he hold leverage? What's your observation on how he survives, and not only survives but thrives with that kind of build at defensive end?
Have you seen him up close?
Yeah, I know.
He's pretty built. He's about 245, shredded, probably like 5% body fat, and he could run. I think he'll be just fine in this scheme, and he's proved that he could rush the passer, so it's good to have him.
He's played, I think, over 100 straight games. I know everyone in the NFL is tough, and maybe you don't get a sense of the guy's toughness during camp or whatever, but I don't know. Does he have that reputation, or are there things you've seen from Leonard that kind of explain how he's able to stay on the field?
Well, for a guy at his age, to work as hard as he does and then come in with a mindset of trying to get better every day is impressive to see. He doesn't like missing days. I think he had an off day today for the first time of camp, and you kind of have to force it on him because he's that type of guy. But some guys are just more resilient, and there's a lot of luck that goes into playing the sport. So, but it's good to have a guy who's reliable and really talented.
Few more guys. A couple times in camp where he looked like he tweaked something or something, and he kind of went off to the side, and then he'd look at him like 5 minutes later, he'd be back out there. I don't know if you were around him in that. Do you ever talk to him in those moments, or kind of hear what his process is to like?
Yeah, I mean, there's you're always dealing with something, and he's been in the league a long time, so it's not like he's out there feeling amazing every rep he takes. So nothing serious. So that's good, and he's very tough.
Some of the coaches yesterday, obviously with Brandon coming in, potentially, mixing in 3-4 looks a little more. Obviously, you've mostly stayed, not dropping into coverage. What would your perspective be, and how comfortable would you be if you were asked to run some 3-4 looks?
I'm liking our change-ups that we're doing. I think in the NFL you have to evolve every year, and we've had a lot of success with what we do, and teams are starting to game plan it and have answers for us. So we have to evolve, and we're doing that. And I think we have a lot of athletic defensive ends, and I don't mind dropping. It's kind of fun. Not something I do often, but it keeps them honest, and it could end up getting you more sacks by them not knowing exactly what we're doing. Thanks.
That's it for podium.